Hello, YouTube. I stayed up late for this one. And I now realize that I'm probably going to need to hire somebody to help me make these videos because it's just too much going on for me to finish production on things that are so many weeks or months behind, and then something else always has to come up that leads to me making another video and knocking off of the list something that I was intending to produce months, sometimes even years ago. And I guess that's because information travels so fast these days. It's like even in the news, when things happen, as the reporters are reporting on it, somebody's already uploading a cell phone video of what happened, like the Vegas shooting, to social media. So, it's like, it's always going to be something controversial or, nerve hitting to raise an eyebrow and provoke a response out of those of us who are social commentators. Now, this latest issue, this latest controversy involving this Candace Owens female. Now, it's actually nothing new. This woman has been on YouTube for 3 years. I think she's been in the social media circles and limelight for at least 4 years. And I've, again, just like Justin Bieber's name back in the day when he was relevant, I would see her name, and I would see her face go past my phone screen or my computer screen every now and then, and I wouldn't really pay attention to it, because I just can't keep track of all of these people. But recently, and I had to know this was coming, a black female claiming to be a, hardcore alt-right conservatist. I had to know that eventually something about this woman was going to catch my eye and prompt me to make an I call bullshit video. As I did with Paris Milan, as I did with Cynthia G, as many people did with China Fox. Now, as I said, I've seen this woman's, up until tonight, I didn't look at any of her videos. All I knew was that she was some black female face, that was house Negroing for the alt-right and the Republican Party. And I guess her base argument was that black people need to leave the Democratic plantation and go over to the Republican side. And so, I thought, just another swirling, who cares? But it wasn't until a content creator made a video that was released a few hours ago that I watch frequently, and he talked about how Kanye West, among the things that he said was that Kanye West, he announced something, and Kanye is Kanye is another one of those clowns that I just don't pay attention to unless it's something really big that comes up, and I made a video about him as a result of that a couple of weeks back, I think. But he made some type of mentioning of him leaving his political activism or taking a break from conservatism for a while. And you can't take anything that Kanye West says seriously, because it's obvious the man is as mentally ill as I'm sure the black female was who spawned him. But that's a subject for another video. Now, among the reasons, from what I understand, and I didn't quite catch everything that was said, but this is how I caught on to this Candace Owens individual. Kanye, among the reasons he mentioned that he was at least temporarily parting with or taking a break from the conservative aisle of activism, this whole Blexit, this hashtag Blexit or Blaxit thing that's going on now, that I think was created by this Candace Owens character, but I'm not exactly sure, was because Kanye West claimed that Candace Owens betrayed him or used him or something of that nature. I didn't quite catch exactly what was said. I haven't heard what Kanye West said verbatim. Perhaps one of you guys can clarify that for me. But when this social commentator that I listen to frequently made this video, he only used the first name Candace. And, I didn't know who the fuck he was talking about. I'm like, what is it? We're talking about one of these reality TV porn slut ratchet thoughts like Portia Williams, or who is he talking about? Who was Kanye talking about? What Candace used him and discouraged him from campaigning for the Republican Party. And then, as I listened to this social commentator, my mind started working. And my mind, like most people's mind, has a library of things that are, labeled, and they are separated into sectors from, highest priority to least priority. And, Candace Owens' name and face were, pretty far back in the file cabinet, if you know what I mean. I wasn't even thinking about this chick. But when he brung up hashtag Blaxit, which is supposed to be this mass evacuation, this mass migration from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party, which I agree is not going to happen, as the social commentator mentioned. And Candace's first name came up in relation to something that Kanye West said. It didn't take me long to realize, it didn't take me long to put Owens with Candace. And I realized that the Candace that Kanye must have been talking about, that betrayed him or used him and, encouraged him to take a break from politics, had to have been none other than the little black starlet of the Republican Party, as stupid motherfuckers think she is. None other than the YouTube vlogger Candace Owens. Who else could it be with the first name Candace? And so once I realized that more likely than not, this was Candace Owens that Kanye was talking about, that used him, then I started to say to myself, no, Brian, don't do it. No, we ain't got time. We got to work on this Paris Milan Files fucking video. We still working on the Weakness to Black Men series. You're already behind on so many fucking videos. You didn't have to make a fucking list on your memo app on your phone just to keep track of all the videos you're behind on. I said, don't do it. Don't do it. Because when I get on to somebody's bullshit, then I start to do a little thing that a lot of you Negroes haven't learned how to do yet, and that's called research. So I tried to resist, but unfortunately, and that has not always served me well. I have a impulsive disorder that causes me to do certain things that, it causes me to act in a way where if it hits my mind, I'm going to do it, no matter what, whether it's good for me, bad for me, whatever. So as soon as I thought of the name Candace Owens, and I put two and two together with what Kanye West was talking about her using him, even not knowing exactly what he was talking about, I knew that I was going to do research into this female. And I knew that when I did research into this female, I was going to find out some very interesting things. And I was going to find out some not so surprising things, given that she is a black female. And then I was probably going to have to issue another PSR, public service reminder. So I went ahead, I gave in to my impulsive disorder, and I researched this chick. Check this out. I read one article about this female, just one. I read one article, and to be completely fair, I watched 3 of her very short, thankfully, videos on the YouTube vlog that she has. Now, from what I can see, she hasn't posted either she's hiding videos or she hasn't posted on her YouTube channel, which has like over 260,000 subscribers in 5 months. I'm thinking that she probably hid or deleted some videos. But I watched the most recent videos that she had between 5 and 8 months ago. And, they were talking about that stupid movie that I was the only black person in America to never go see Black Panther. And she was talking about, Donald Trump and, white people stop doing white guilt and all of this. And I didn't listen so much to the contents of what she was saying. I was studying how she was saying things, how she was expressing herself. And between that and this article, I came to the very quick conclusion that this female is fucked up. Oh yes, she is. She is as fucked up of a black female as Cynthia G, as Paris Milan, as the half-breed China Fox. If you want to, since so many of y'all want to classify her as black, she is a half-breed, but it is what it is. As Stacey Dash, and as my ex-girlfriend, and so many other black females that are nameless, both known and unknown. And here's why. Because I'm not going to be unfair and unkind and just say, oh, well, is a black female, so she's screwed up. I just don't like the fact that she's a dark-skinned black female. No. Once again, I told y'all I did research. And upon doing just a little bit of research, I realized that Candace Owens, if that's her real name, and we're going to get to that in a minute, Candace Owens fits all of the characteristics, short of having illegitimate children. She fits all of the characteristics of a broken-minded black woman. Now, let's start from the top. Well, actually, no. Let's start from the bottom. I want to work my way up, not down. Let's start from the bottom. Studying her 3 most recent videos on the channel, her known channel that I could see with the 260,000 subs. The one thing that I was reminded of this movie, that starred Clint Eastwood playing a Secret Service agent. And in the movie, this other actor, John Malkovich, was playing an assassin. And it was basically the entire background of the movie was, this assassin was playing cat and mouse with this Secret Service agent that he was stalking. that he was planning an assassination of the President of the United States, and he was daring the Secret Service to catch him before he was able to successfully assassinate the president. It was a damn good movie, one of the best ever made. They don't make movies like that anymore, as far as suspense thrillers. But in the movie, John Malkovich, his character, the assassin, the would-be assassin, he was on the phone with Secret Service agent Frank Horrigan, played by Clint Eastwood. And they were having a conversation, and of course, you know, the feds, the FBI, and the Secret Service were tapping the phone line trying to track the location of John Malkovich, you know, the assassin. And in the movie, one of the things he said that always stuck with me and reminds me of not only this Candace Owens woman, but Cynthia G, Paris Milan, all these black, you know, I mean, run down the list. Radical Home Goddess, Egypt Ann, Archduchess, run down the list, okay? He said that he was at a rally because in the movie, the president that he was planning to assassinate was running for re-election, and he was behind in the polls, so he was really putting in footwork, you know, campaigning, you know, just like in a real political race. And the would-be assassin said that he had stalked the president at one of these rallies, and he was sitting there undercover watching the president, you know, give a speech. And he said to Clint Eastwood's character, he said, looking at a man like that, meaning the president, he said, I couldn't help wondering, he said, I don't understand if your job, being a Secret Service agent, protecting the president, is more absurd than it is strange, or more strange than it is absurd. Because listening to that man, the president, give a speech, I couldn't help but wonder, why would a man of your character risk his life to protect a man like him, meaning the president? And that stuck with me because there have been many times in my life, including even before, but especially since I've gotten on social media, where I've looked at an obvious stooge, an obvious bozo, even Brother Polite, an obvious opportunist, like this Candace Owens woman, which we're going to get to in a minute. And I said, I couldn't help but wonder, why does that person have so many thousands of subscribers? Why are so many people giving this person props? It's obvious this person is a fucking imbecile. And that's to say it lightly. Are people that really cerebrally, mentally dull that they can't see a nitwit? They don't know a nitwit when they see and hear one? Because when you look at these people that, you know, are ultra popular, you know, whether they claim pro-blackness or whether they claim pro-conservatism, most of these people are either dumb as a box of rocks, or it's pretty goddamn obvious that they're playing people. I tried to warn y'all with that about Veganator, but nobody wanted to listen. Because I was just left dumbfounded listening to this Candace Owens bimbo in her 2 and 3 minute videos talking. And I'm listening to her and I'm looking at her. And the first thing that I immediately noticed was that she was editing her videos. She wasn't just, you know, speaking all the way through. Now, I will be the first to tell you, after doing this for over 4 years as an amateur, being any type of public speaker, whether you do it on social media or whether you do it in a speech, even looking at a teleprompter, is a very difficult thing. But this female was obviously telegraphing everything that she fucking said. I wouldn't be surprised if she was actually reading off of a fucking teleprompter. And she was cutting the video that she was making so she wasn't speaking all the way through. She was talking and she would either stop or she would cut something out and then she would cut to something else. Now, I know that's a certain style of, social commentary or video content creation that some people do. But it was obvious that this female is not as sharp and intelligent as people, want to give her credit for, that are taking this blue pill when it comes to this chick. And you have a lot of white conservatives that are listening to this bimbo, because she's the classic house Negro that Malcolm X was talking about. They thought that they was better off than the Negroes in the field because they was in the house with Massa. So you have a lot of white alt-right people that like her. And then you have a lot of these blacks that have jumped on the Donald Trump bandwagon that like her. But I'm scratching my head. I'm trying to figure out, because one thing that I will give, for example, when it comes to intellectual astuteness, one thing I will give the likes of like Barack Obama and Dr. Martin Luther King is that when they spoke, when they gave public speeches, or when Obama gives a public speech, or when Dr. King spoke, whether it was to the media or his I Have a Dream speech, when you listen to those two black men, when they spoke, okay, there was no stuttering. They did an even better job of public speaking than I do, okay? And I personally think, very highly of myself, as every individual should think highly of themselves. But they were able to articulate themselves very well with hardly any stuttering. They had a clear mind. They could go clean through everything that they were trying to imbue to the listening audience, whether that was black people, or whether that was white people, or whether that was a combination of everybody, okay? This female, I'm trying to understand, just because she's hitting talking points of alt-right people and, the likes of Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity that never even mention her even once, by the way. And believe me, they have their black stooges, but she's not one of them. They don't even mention her in their circles. And I've listened to enough Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity to know that they don't mention Candace Owens, not even once. Okay, that I've heard. But listening to her, I can tell almost instantaneously that she's not as sharp as people keep putting her on to be. Okay, because she has to keep cutting and editing her videos to, match things that she's saying together, where there's either no, place where she, got some type of vocal block, like writer's block, where she's stuttering, and where there's not a long space in between what she's saying on one point, on one end, to the other. Okay, so anybody who cuts like that, either one of two things is happening. Either they're trying to captivate their audience, or more likely, as with Candace Owens' case, they're trying to hide the fact that they're not as articulate as people think they are, okay? It's like a movie, a Hollywood movie. A lot of people don't understand this, which I don't understand with, again, all the freedom of information. The movie that you watch, okay, the 2.5-hour movie that you watch, 1.5 to 2.5-hour movie that you watch when you go to a theater, that is a very small, very cut down version of the content, the enormous amount of content in footage, stunts, actors' lines that was produced just to get that tiny product, okay? To get that tiny 1.5 to 2.5-hour product, they shot over somewhere between 9 months. I think a major motion picture, nowadays it's a little less, but it used to take between 9 months to a year and a half to produce enough shit for the director and his assistants to sift through and figure out what of that content they wanted to take out and add into the movie. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with cutting and editing. I do it myself. But the problem comes into play when you expect me to believe that a female that's pretty much just hitting the typical talking points that, every Jesse Lee Peterson or Kanye West or Stacey Dash or Sean Hannity or Rush Limbaugh says in a telegraphed manner. But even though it's telegraphed, she still has to cut and edit parts out of the video that she doesn't want you to see. Get a final product where it seems like she's just stringing all of these telegraphed lines together, one after the other, second by second, when this is shit that she basically copied off of somebody else, because it's already been said. You expect me to believe that that's a sharp, intellectual conservative? Get the fuck out of here with that shit. And again, that is just where we're going to start at the bottom. Now, we switch over from watching her videos and we look at this article that I saw. And it's completely incredible to me that nobody is bringing this up. But again, because she serves a common purpose, okay, of what I used to call coup-nipulation and what I now call house negroing politics to weak-minded black people that can be easily manipulated and controlled into believing just about anything, from the furthest of the left to the furthest of the right. People are going to automatically turn the other cheek and ignore and act like they didn't see these other facts, the few facts that we do know about this female that is going out of her way to hide certain things about her personal self and her private life. Now, if you're going to be, and you know, I've made this clear, okay, there are different people that produce social commentary. Some of us choose to conceal our identities and only, you know, publicly speak, only allow you to hear our voices. And that is because we do not want our, you know, our physical selves, our private and personal lives out there, okay? And that's fully within our rights. And actually, it's quite smart. But then there are those who choose to connect both their personal and private selves, which would essentially be their physical identities. They choose to share that with the rest of the world. They feel like, you know, that's part of the package deal. If I'm going to be speaking to people, you know, this is the way to get, you know, the fastest amount, you know, to raise to stardom the quickest. Show myself. Now, I will admit that showing yourself while speaking and sharing your views with the world, whether they toe the party line of groupthink or not, is the fastest way to fame and success on social media. But it is also the riskiest way to do that as well. We've seen this in recent times with the likes of Tommy Sotomayor and the things that he's dealt with over the years, from people showing up to his house to people, you know, filing, you know, false reports to DCFS about him abusing his kids. So, you know, there's a pro and a con to everything, including that. But it's strange to me. There's a strange dynamic after reading this article. I realized that this Candace Owens female, not only does she meet the typical characteristics of a broken, mentally ill black female, but also she's going out of her way to hide in plain sight, which is it's really strange to me why you would, you know, say that, you know, you want to keep segments of your life private or indicate that, but then at the same time give hints that's going to make it obvious what you're about and that there's something clearly wrong with you. So in this article, they talked about how, among other things, Candace Owens' only known level of education is high school. She went to high school in Rhode Island, and she dropped out of, I think, Rhode Island State University or something like that. But she dropped out of college, okay? Now, everybody's trying to make it seem like this woman is so highly intelligent and so, you know, she's one of those strong, independent black sisters that's so highly educated and, she knows what she's talking about just because she's hitting these typical conservatives, right-wing talking points that are telegraphed from the last motherfucker that said them. And yet she's a college dropout. And when they asked her, well, why did you drop out of college? Her excuse was that, well, she was bullied in high school and she was bullied in college. And so that's the reason why she dropped out. Now, I don't buy that. I don't buy that for several reasons. Okay. Number one is because bullying is prevalent, in high school, middle school. It really doesn't go on that nearly as much as it does on university campuses. And, for the most part, the most thing that young females have to worry about is when they put themselves in situations to become victims of sexual assault in college. Okay. So somehow I don't buy that she dropped out of college just because she was bullied and that she claimed that she experienced racism in college. And the other reason why I don't buy that is because, and this is what's really strange. This is how I know she's fucked up. Okay. Because she claimed that racism had such an effect on her in high school that her family sued the school district and won a $37,000 settlement. So she claims. And then it had so much of an effect on her that she dropped out of college. She didn't complete college. Okay. And then it claims that she went to work for a private firm. So if she received so much racism, why is she regurgitating the very same political talking points of these people that are donned or deemed by the liberal media as those who side with the racists, like Donald Trump and, the alt-right, the neo-Nazis and all of that? Why would she side with the side that is always accused of being racist? Why is she kissing up to and practically kissing the ass of the Donald Trumps and the Sean Hannitys and the Rush Limbaughs? Now, let me clarify something, and let me be very clear. Okay, I align with conservative beliefs. Okay, I align with conservative beliefs hell of a lot more than I do with liberal beliefs. I do believe that if black people could construct a system through which they adequately enact conservative policies on their communities, they will be a hell of a lot further ahead than they are now. Okay? But as some people have already acknowledged, politics is not the problem with black people. I don't even agree that science is the problem with black people. Okay? I think the problem with black people is the way we have allowed our communities and our generations of youth to be bred and trained to have an ass fucking backwards mentality. Okay? So I don't have no problem with conservative beliefs. I wouldn't have no problem with this Candace Owens woman if I thought that she was legitimately promoting conservatism. Okay? But the fact that she tries to blame white racism on the reason why she dropped out of college, but then turns around and promotes alt-right beliefs and telegraphs their talking points, bleeds highly suspicious to me that she has an ulterior motive. And that what she's probably doing is what Cynthia G, Paris Milan, China Fox, and my ex did and are doing, which is trying to overcompensate for something that makes her feel insecure. See, again, y'all have to learn to read in between the lines of people's bullshit, because when you read in between the lines of people's bullshit, you'll much more easily be able to see what's swept just underneath the rug. The other thing that makes me highly suspicious of her excuses as to why she dropped out of college, okay, was because they say that she started this website in 2015. Now, mind you, this was 3 years ago. She started, and I'm gonna let you see the screenshots for you. I'm letting you see the screenshots for yourself. She started a website in 2015 that actually mocked Donald Trump. Okay, while he was running for election, it mocked him when he was still the Republican candidate before the Republican primary, when he was running against those other Republican candidates like Ted Cruz and all of them. She started a website, and in one of her blogs, she actually mocked Donald Trump, the same Donald Trump who she's practically given a blowjob every single day now. And then it said that Candace Owens started another website or something of that nature. She started some type of website, or she was part of some type of online firm that went after online bullies by tracking their digital footprint. And the website or the movement or whatever that she was a part of or that she started was sued, and it quickly fell apart because people were accusing the movement and perhaps her of violating their rights to privacy, which means that they were probably doing more than just tracking Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. They were probably doing some type of hacking, which is highly illegal. So she left that alone. She moved away from that, as she moved away from mocking Donald Trump to endorsing Donald Trump. Okay? So right here we see you starting to put things together, and I ain't even got to the best part yet. I ain't got to the cherry on top. We start to see the puzzle starts to come together with this opportunist, what I now call fake conservatism, black bimbo, this wannabe Omarosa, okay, that's claiming to be pro-Republican. But now the puzzle coming together, we should be seeing now that she actually bats from both sides of the plate, just like these black females that 5 years ago was talking about 10 reasons to date a white man. And now fast forward, a lot of them are running back across the color line talking about how they love black men and wouldn't date a white man, like Paris Milan and Cynthia G. Okay? What we're seeing is a black female that is fickle, that she jumps from one ship to the next. She'll say anything for attention. Her past contradicts her present. She dabbles in hypocrisy. She's trying to move away from her past failures in life, which include dropping out of college. Okay? Now, also it said that Candace Owens was raised by her grandparents, and that because her parents had separated. Now, that was another thing that raised an alarm bell for me. Because I said to myself, okay, a lot of people unfortunately have to go through as children their parents being separated. Obama went through this. My father went through this. Okay? But unless both parents were pieces of shit, you wouldn't have to go and live with your parents' parents unless, again, they were ain't shit parents, both of them, right? Now, we know Obama had to live with his grandparents because his mother was a fucking hippie drug addict and his father was nowhere to be seen, okay? So why did Candace Owens have to go and be raised by her grandparents instead of one of her parents, either her father or mother, after they separated? Because her parents were probably both fucked up. I don't know what it was involving. She did not disclose that, whether it was drugs, whether it was gangs, prison, whatever it was, okay? For some reason, neither one of her parents were able or willing to raise her as a child. So she was raised by her grandparents. Went to high school, dropped out of college, okay? Started a website, in part mocking Trump and invading people's privacy. And then turns around years later, she's kissing Trump's ass and giving him a blowjob and endorsing and telegraphing alt-right and Republican right-wing beliefs. Even though she claims that racism was something she suffered through in high school and caused her to drop out of college and caused her to sue the public school system in Rhode Island where she went to school. Yet now she's co-signing with and endorsing the very party, very political ideology that these libtards accuse of being racist against minorities. Oh, and not to mention the cherry on top. And I knew this was coming. You know what's actually funny? When I typed in Candace Owens, just because I know how these dark-skinned, insecure, low self-esteem, opportunist black females like her, Paris Milan, Cynthia G, and the like are, first thing I typed in, this gonna make y'all laugh, I typed in Candace Owens' white boyfriend. Because that was like the least thing that, I suspected to be a surprise. But in the article, during some interview that she gave, among, besides admitting that she came from a broken home, that she was a college dropout, didn't get a degree, flip-flop from one end of the political spectrum to the next, she also admitted that she had a relationship, she had dated a white guy. And just like David Carroll said, she went out of her way to admit that he was a white guy. Okay? Now, why would a young black girl that experienced racism, and I imagine Rhode Island is a very white state, why would a young black girl that experienced racism in high school and dropped out of college as a result of this racism, okay, and at one time didn't like Donald Trump when he was a Republican primary candidate, and created a website that got sued for invading people's privacy, trying to track down bullies, and I'm assuming racist bullies online, all that cyberbullying stuff. Why would she decide then to date what she said was her first white guy? And then turn around and try to say that she doesn't disclose, certain segments of her private life, even though she just came out and let everybody know in the interview that she dated a white guy. Which one is it? Are you trying to keep your relationship life, your personal life private from the rest of the world? Or do you want us to know who's sticking a penis in your mouth? You see what I'm saying? So here, the puzzle has been put together by Brian Solange once again. We have a demented, mentally deranged black female who can't articulate herself without telegraphing and stealing other people's lines from the alt-right and cutting and editing her videos together where it seems like she's saying stuff second by second when she actually is director's cutting the shit out of her content, who dropped out of college and blamed everything but her bad grades, lack of ability to do the schoolwork and pass the exams, and claimed that she was a victim of racism, that mocked Donald Trump when he was running for president, and then turns around, kisses his ass, claims that she was a victim of racism as a high school student and as a college student, but then turns around and goes out of her way to say that she is dating and likely fucking, or was dating and fucking, some type of white dude, came from a broken family of two separated parents that couldn't take care of her, so they basically pawned her off on her grandparents, has a history of playing victim, insecurity, which includes invading people's privacy, contradicting herself, sleeping with the enemy, according to her. She, again, claimed to be a victim of racism. Yet somehow people expect me to believe that because she puts on red lipstick, puts a perm and a wig on, and dresses in office attire and high heels, that somehow she's a sharp, intellectual conservatist that knows what she's talking about. Get the fuck out of my damn face with that. Come on, man. How many times have we seen these females pull this same damn game? Now, I can't claim that I was the first one to Paul Revere and call bullshit on this. I can't claim to be the Paul Revere on this female because she's been out there for a while and she just came to my attention. But I think I'm the first person probably in Black YouTube that has actually done even a little bit of research on this chick. And what's so sad is that most of these people, just like I recall going back to Cynthia G, before she pulled all those wonderful pictures down of her partying in her college days with evil albinoid devils, all of this shit about these broken-minded chicks is hiding in plain sight. Paris Milan said plain that she gave her number to some white dude because he was in a band. She said that. How the fuck are you pro-black if you're giving your number out to white boys? How are you pro-black if you posing with all these white people, partying with them? Got a white dude with his hand around your waist. You want me to believe that every single one of your siblings, male and female, have been dating, fucking, getting pregnant, having children with white people, but you? You even said yourself that white men would give you stuff when you went out on dates with them. Yet, at the same time, you're telling me that you never did anything sexual with a white man. Again, just like this Candace Owens chick, it's hiding in plain sight. Did y'all ever see that movie with Tom Cruise called Eyes Wide Shut? It was him and Nicole Kidman before they started dating. It was called Eyes Wide Shut. That's how it is with the black community. Your eyes are wide. Your eyes and your ears are wide open. But you ain't hearing or seeing a goddamn thing that these people are actually saying. You're hearing and seeing what they want you to hear and what you want to hear. Yet the truth ain't even swept underneath the fucking rug. It's right there in plain sight. Same thing with the Democratic Party. How the hell is this bimbo, this shallow, feeble-minded, insecure, low self-esteem opportunist for being politically correct on YouTube? How the hell is she leading black people off the Democratic plantation when she ain't off the plantation herself? And see, black men, this whole thing with these black females and some of these black males like Brother Polite that are raising up like dandelion weeds and becoming, influential figures on black social media. People are propping them up like they're Nelson Mandela or Dr. Martin Luther King or something, when it's obvious that they are a product of the actual problem themselves. We can throw Kanye West in there as well. I throw all these people in the same basket. This is a direct result of us as black men dropping the ball. Now, we know there's many reasons for why the ball has been dropped. But this is what I tell y'all, why other men of other races, and I'm still going to continue that Weakness of Black Men series, but this is why other men of certain other races, they do not tolerate their women acting too far out of pocket. And when they do, they either yank their ass back or they completely cut them off from the inner circle of that tribe. That tribe's money, their protection, even their own family won't deal with them no more. Like that, remember I made that video about that Mia Khalifa whore? She can't go back to Lebanon. She can't even talk to her own parents. She's done. They don't want to have nothing to do with her. For the rest of her life, she will be excluded as an Arab or Arab American or whatever the fuck she's supposed to be, Lebanese American, whatever. And she knows better than to even try them. Okay? And ISIS told her to cut that shit out. She did. Because when you allow females to run too far astray, it's just like if you take a damn pail of water and just fucking splash it against the wall. The water goes all over the fucking place. They're all over the damn place. On the floor, on this wall, on that wall, on the ceiling. The splash just goes everywhere. You got black females that were, you know, getting turned out by white dudes, coming back now, making videos on YouTube trying to get black men's attention. Like Kelly Rowland talking about why they love black men and how they would never date a white dude, even though they was blowing and riding a damn white dude like they fucking life depended on it. You got black females calling, white people evil albinoid devils. They used to didn't do nothing but fuck around with white folks. And we already know she fucked some white dudes, even though she claimed she didn't. You got a black female that at one point was claiming to be a victim, playing the victim card in the race card together, talking about, she was a victim of racism and that's why she dropped out of college. That's why she couldn't complete college, because she didn't want to admit she was a fucking failure. And now she's turned around and she's siding with the people that the libtards claim are the fucking racists, the fucking right wing, the Republicans. You got a half-breed female, China Fox, that tweeted that, if you didn't like her being with a white man, too fucking bad, or kiss her ass, or some shit that she said, was on Facebook and some of everything else, posing with white dudes, sucking their dick, swallowing their cum. Then next thing you know, years later, all of a sudden she's fiercely pro-black. You got these hoes just all over the damn place. That don't even mention, all the tricks on fucking Instagram that are fucking digitally prostituting, self-pimping their damn self, including underage girls that ain't even of legal age. We ain't gonna touch that here on YouTube. This is what happens when you don't keep not only your women, but your people, your tribe in order. Okay? This is what happens when you don't keep them in order. Now, weak-minded Negroes and some trailer swamp whites actually believe that because of this hashtag Blaxit or hashtag Blexit, that this Candace Owens bimbo is going to be the one to lead black people off the Democratic plantation, out of darkness, out of slavery, when she's a goddamn slave her damn self. And more of a slave to her insecurities and her low self-esteem that I know she has just by looking at her facial expressions, listening to her, watching her videos, looking at this fucking article about the interview that she gave. She's more a slave to her insecurities than she's a slave to any fucking thing else. Just like most black females, just like my ex, just like these black majority of these black bimbos on YouTube. She's just a different side of the same coin of these black female she pimps that learned a new hustle turning tricks on social media. Whether they selling ass, pro-fakeness, or political bullshit, they're all pretty much the same. And I would not be surprised if this chick voted for Obama. I mean, Kanye done already forewarned y'all. He claimed that she used him, not that we can take anything that deranged nut says seriously, but that pretty much is a precursor to what you're gonna get. As with the majority of these black hoes, if you call yourself following and taking any advice from this chick in regards to aligning yourself with the Republican Party. If you're gonna do it, I suggest you do it listening to the likes of somebody like Paul Ryan. You probably even have a better shot listening to Donald Trump, Sean Hannity, or Rush Limbaugh than this trick. Now, I guess it's a little too late to issue a warning to black men and black people in general, because like I said, this trick baby bimbo has been in the social media headlines for a couple of years now. But there is this scripture in the Bible, one of the few that I agree with, that says, if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into a pit. In this case, if the mentally deranged lead the mentally deranged, well, I think you can pretty much use your imagination to figure out what the fuck's gonna happen next. So if you call yourself a black Republican, hey, I have, again, I align, even though I don't vote for either political party, because I don't believe any politician that never met me or my family can or is willing to do shit for me. I align myself more with conservative belief system than not. The only problem is I don't believe this bimbo is a real conservative. I believe that she's another low self-esteem, insecure, mentally deranged, just like my ex, opportunist, contradicting black she pimp that has found her new hustle. So if you call yourself a black Republican, if you call yourself part of this new trend of black people call themselves migrating off the Democratic plantation, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you haven't listened to this bimbo, if you haven't started following her, don't start. Because all she's going to lead you is to a road to nowhere. And that's if you're lucky. But since we know, as Aquazi 100 said a couple of years ago, that most black females have a kamikaze mindset, she may lead you to your destruction. Talk to you later, guys.